And what your actions you don't sometimes realize having a consequence. And I think a lot of people in a relationship don't understand how this union of a relationship that you make an agreement in, it's self-serving sometimes, but then you don't realize the residue it impacts energetically, traumatically to your partner.
All right, guys, we got Sam here today. We're going to talk sales and talk life. Thanks for coming in today, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. What's the latest thing you're selling these days?
Coaching. I mean, a lot of, I guess the future version of people. And I'm actually selling companies. I guess the latest is I'm working on a private equity roll-up with these roofing companies. So it's selling business owners on giving me their business so that I can help them scale and have an acquisition. And it's kind of a fun project that I've been working on.
Yeah, that's needed, right? Because a lot of people struggle to sell their business.
Yeah. It's like, do the statistics. It's like one out of like 10,000 companies that will actually go public or have an acquisition. And it's like,
that's like 0.01%.
Yeah, it's probably even less than that. Like, but it's, people don't start a business with the end in mind, right? They start these businesses and then they're like 5-10 years in and they're like, I'm bored, or I don't know what to do, and where am I going with this? And they're on a hamster wheel up and down on the entrepreneur roller coaster. So I was like, what if I can help? Obviously our forte is more home services and direct sales. And so it's like giving that direction has been kind of an obvious next step for our consulting company. So
yeah, there's also a lot of boomers aging out too.
Yeah,
I see Cody Sanchez talking about this. There's a lot of businesses doing solid revenues, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah, like, what do I do?
Because their kids don't want to take part in it, and they got an asset, but they don't know how to sell it.
Yep.
So that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. How are you finding the businesses to roll up?
Well, natural progression. So for 8 years, we've coached, door-to-door sales, and mainly the roofing, solar, pest, alarm, satellite, fiber, whatever. And so what's funny is the private equity money. So for 8 years, we've had thousands of companies we've helped, tens of thousands of salespeople. And our track record is just like, dude, we'll 10x companies really quick because we hire a bunch of ninjas. They go out in the field and they door knock and they self-generate. They're carnivores, hence the new book I came out with, Eat What You Kill. And so we teach these kind of, like yesterday I spoke in Orlando to a bunch of pressure washing, window washing companies. And they're just like, dude, we need this. They spend all this money on SEO and all these things. I'm like, what if you just got like 5 sales guys to go actually eat what they kill? Oh yeah, why don't we do that? So teach us how to do that. So for 8 years, we've been coaching companies how to do that. And a lot of our clients, we have 100 business owners in our mastermind, we take them for 4 to 40 million. And they're like, bro, like we're drinking your Kool-Aid. Tell us what to do next. And I'm like, private equity sector is leaving tech quite a bit because of AI. And they're afraid of like all the innovation. And they're like, how do we move into more essential services? It can't really get disruptive. And you take like pest control or, roof. It's not like AI can do anything to that.
Right.
And so they're needing a place to park their money. And so it's just getting really, really sexy for these financial groups. And so I'm like, guys, do you want to go make a quick 40 million? And they're like, yeah, what do we need to do, Sam? Like, we trust you. So
yeah,
it's kind of fun.
That's impressive. Well, you got the track record, so it's not as a difficult sell as for other people. Right?
Yeah. It's not like I'm cold outreaching on LinkedIn. It's like, hey, I've coached you for 3 years. Do you trust me? And they're like, sure. But then you still got to be like, bro, drop the ego. Like, let's go build something like $1 billion thing.
Right.
And help them.
Do you see a lot of salespeople struggle with ego?
Oh, I do. I mean, we all do. Like, I think that's the, one of my favorite books is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And, you think of like how often we think we know everything, but I think that's the demise of any sales rep, any business owner, is it's like you're limiting your progression because you're not willing to be coachable. You're not willing to be, I actually fired a guy. I fired my biggest client literally 2 weeks ago. He's paying me, several $100,000 a year. And I was like, bro, you're not coachable. Like as much as you want to grow, I was tasked to take him from 100 reps to 600 sales reps in 6 months. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. We got to like 350 in 4.5 months and like, we're on track. But I'm like, bro, me having to pick up the phone and talk to you is like killing me. I don't need your money. And I was just like, I have I only take on 2 or 3 clients personally. And I was just like, you're fired, bro. And they were like, wait, but you still like us, right? Because they didn't want me to like tarnish their name or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, like you're cool. It cost me my peace trying to get you on the phone and talk to you and coach you. And I'm like, I'm going to watch this house of cards come down.
Hey guys, shout out to today's sponsor, Kinsta. Running an online business is already a challenge. Your website hosting shouldn't make it harder, and I've been there, dealing with slow load times, confusing dashboards, and unreliable support. That's why I switched over to Kinsta, and it's been a game changer for my brand. Since moving to Kinsta, my site loads faster, runs smoother, and I don't have to stress about downtime. Their intuitive dashboard makes managing everything simple, and their 24/7 expert support means I always have real people whenever to help when I need it. Kinsta's built for performance with blazing fast speeds, enterprise-level security, and 37 global data centers to ensure your site reaches audiences quickly. They also handle free migrations, so switching is effortless, and if you ever get a traffic spike, Kinsta automatically scales to keep your site online when it matters most. I'm not the only one who trusts Kinsta. TripAdvisor, NASA, Indeed, and over 120,000 businesses rely on Kinsta for their WordPress hosting. So if you want hosting that works, just make the switch to Kinsta today. Get your first month free. They'll even handle the migration for you. Just visit kinsta.com/DSH to get started. That's KINSTA.com/DSH.
And there's not like, I hope that on them. It's just, I'm like, you're not a good leader because you're not coachable. And I was like, good leaders are coachable. Good leaders know how to take feedback. They know how to when to balance the game of confidence and humility. And that duality is very important as a sales rep, as a business owner. Even like from a sales rep standpoint, a customer is sitting there trying to tell you something, but if you're so fixated on the way that you need to sell them, you're talking about the golden rule, which is treat others as you would like to be treated. And so you're projecting your ego in the way that you would buy and the way that you're thinking and the presentation that you have planned instead of being flexible, like the platinum rule, which is to treat others as they would like to be treated. So it's like this concept of like, drop your ego and be flexible like a chameleon and say, hey, help me understand what you're needing, not what I'm needing.
Right.
And that is how you really create progression in business.
I agree.
And sales.
I think a lot of people get stuck because they're not coachable.
Yep.
And you see it at all levels, even millionaires.
Yep.
Like they get stuck at like 7 figures a year.
Yep.
I think it's because they found what works, but they're not willing to do something new to get to that next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened with me too.
I'm still in it. Like, my wife, she's over here like, who's coaching you? I'm like, yeah. So like, anyway, I fly out to go hang out with Dan Martell and this guy Chris Smith in like 2 weeks in Hawaii.
Yeah,
and like,
Dan's been crushing it. Oh, yeah, that Chris Lee's mastermind?
No, Chris Smith.
Oh, Chris Smith. Okay.
He does Campfire. He's in Hawaii, but Dan Martell, it's like a little couples thing. And then, so this year, I was like, all right, I'm going to spend $100,000 on effing coaches. Cause it's been like a year and a half since I had like really invested money. And I was like, you're right. Like I did have a stagnant year last year. And I was like, what was the difference? And I was like, nobody was freaking kicking me in the nuts. And I actually think like the best CEOs and the best top performers in sales, like they actually like having somebody kick them in the nuts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like real good performers are like, give it to me. It's the ones that take the emotional sensitivity and they're like, and they're always coming with excuses. It's like, if you had somebody in your life that was just like I remember I went through 7 marriage counselors.
Damn.
And 9 years of marriage. And it wasn't until my 7th marriage counselor that was like calling me out. You know what I mean? Like think about that. Like he was just like, no one is the balls to, because I'm such a sales guy. I sell all the other sales. I sold all the other marriage counselors on like, I'm the shit. And she's the issue. And you know, like I'd manipulate my counseling sessions because I'm really good with language. And he was just like, I'm not going to buy into your bullshit, dude. Like own your truth. And like, he just freaking hit me between the eyes. And I was like, thank you. And what came of it is I never wanted that relationship. And I called the marriage and I got divorced. But it was like, he freed me from my, I guess, like, what's the word? Like I was almost like manipulating my happiness. I was almost like living out of real alignment.
Were you lying to yourself?
I was lying to myself. Like I was lying to her. I was lying to the counselor. I was lying to myself. I was lying to, you know what I mean? And he's just like, stop lying. And I'm like, touche. You think if fat people do that? You think broke people do that? You think, you know what I mean? I watch people like that have no money and then they lie through, I got to look good. I don't want anybody to know. And I'm like, how about you just like tell the truth? You're broke, bro. Let's fix that. Let's start there. And nobody like wants to just say what it is.
Yeah.
And I was like,
hard to get to that level, right?
Yeah.
Mindset where you can just accept everything.
True acceptance. Let's find radical honesty and let's like own where we're at.
Yeah. Everyone's got insecurities, whether it's their weight, their height, their money.
All of it. Like, and that's where the coaching side, and I'm working on it as a business owner even. I mean, I got 50 employees and I like to be liked.
Right.
The insecurity of like, what if I say you're sucking at your job and then they don't like me and then I got to show up to the office tomorrow? But I'm like, that's not serving anyone. You know what I'm saying?
No, I used to be a people pleaser, and I even tried to please bullies that were bullying me.
Yeah.
That's how much I wanted to be accepted.
And it's like, why do we do that?
Yeah.
It's just like so dumb.
So dumb, dude.
It's like I'm
I used to give them
sacrificing.
free candy bars just so they would like.
Maybe he'll like me.
Yeah.
It's like, you're an idiot. You're running this company and you're waiting for the approval of your freaking $60,000 employee.
Yeah.
And I'm over here like, I'm backwards.
I had to change that mindset when I started the podcast and started seeing comments, because I'm like, all right, we're getting thousands of comments now. I can't please every single person. I just got to accept that half the comments are going to be negative sometimes.
I had a guy yesterday comment on one of my posts, Sam, you should cut your hair. I was like, my wife's super hot. She loves it. like in my head, I like kind of took it. I was like, yeah, you're right. It is kind of get like people's perception, their judgment. Then I was like, no, it's good looking and I like it.
Yeah.
Suck it. Like, you know what I mean? But like, it was hard. I was like,
Yeah. You seek out that one negative comment in a sea of 100 positive ones. Sometimes.
Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah,
Because
super dumb.
we live off feedback.
Yeah. You got remarried though?
Yeah. I got remarried.
Nice.
I had a good 3-year, just like, I had to live out my single phase for a minute. I got married when I was, I went on a 2-year service mission in Argentina. And the day, basically week I got home, met my first wife.
Wow.
And, I was, they call it missionary goggles, where it's like you living in a foreign country for 2 years, can't touch a girl, live with a dude, always with somebody. You know what I mean? You're just like, woman. You're like, finally, I'm free. You know what I mean? And got married within 9 months of being home.
Damn.
Yeah. Like,
that's quick.
Met, married in 9 months.
You get engaged or you just went straight to marriage?
No, we got engaged for 4 months. Like a 4-month engagement. I had never had sex with anybody. I had never.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like it was like first girl I kissed, first girl home. And it's just a cultural thing. And it's like where we come from. I'm from Utah. I grew up Mormon.
Yeah.
And it was like this. Again, I wrote a book called The Self-Experience. That was my second book. And I talk about this, but I just was kind of living like almost an imposter's experience. Again, lying to myself. It's like, what does the world, my culture, my family, everybody want me to be? That fear of being liked. Like, think about that. Like, it's this concept of like, I need to look good. And if I told her, no, I don't want to get married, then her family, the investment, like I almost called off our engagement, but I was like, oh, our dad's already spent 25 grand on this wedding.
Damn.
See what I'm getting at? Like, and I'm like, I don't want to make him feel bad. And then I don't want to like break her heart. Yeah, let's just get married.
Wow.
9 years later, 3 kids, that's in the back of your mind. And it's like, that was just dumb. I couldn't own my truth.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, that's crazy. You were thinking about the dad's money when it comes to marriage.
Yeah. And it was cool and it was fun, but it wasn't like there was real alignment there. Like there were so many red flags that I just was like blinded by. And so I was able to kind of like, when I got divorced, kind of blank canvas my life a little bit.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, can I take a step back and like really assess values, beliefs, what is it that I want instead of what my parents want or what this wants or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in your culture, like parents have a very high level of respect that you like.
Asian culture for sure.
Exactly. Like it's just, so I'm like, well, and so I just went on my own like little journey. And then I got to a point where I was like, I need to drop my one. I need, like, I'm ready to, like, single life is not for me. It's kind of a fleety, non-progressive direction. And I was like, I need my queen.
Yeah.
So I drew up. She's absolutely amazing.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in isolation. It's a tough lifestyle. It was very lonely. And I think they're doing studies now on just lifespan, and people that are single live less on average.
Well, it's just, you need an accountability. My wife is my greatest accountability person. Like last night, in the hotel, she's like, don't get bit. You know what I mean? You're in Vegas.
Scorpion.
You see what I mean? Like, but not like a scorpion in the sense of the desert. She's like, don't get bit by the world. You're in the freaking dopamine village of Vegas, and there's chicks and there's alcohol and there's slot machines and there's, you know what I mean? They think about all the things in Vegas that could buy you. And, she's over here like, stay in alignment. You know what I mean? Like, it's powerful to have a partner, as hard as that is sometimes, because it's so close to home. It's emotional. but the humility to be like, touche, like, thank you. Instead of like, bitch, why are you being so like in my business? You know what I mean? Like, that's how most people in a relationship act. And
True.
thank you for caring enough to want to hold me accountable.
Yeah, a lot of people would be like, why are you telling me that?
Yeah, why do you tell me how to live? Yeah, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah, because some people see that as controlling.
Exactly.
Right? But there's a difference, I think, how you interpret it.
Yeah, and
she's looking out for you.
She's just saying, I want the best for you and me, because anything you do affects me, because we're in oneness, married, and what your actions you don't sometimes realize have a consequence. And I think a lot of people in a relationship don't understand how this union of a relationship that you make an agreement in, it's self-serving sometimes, but then you don't realize the residue it impacts energetically, traumatically to your partner. And the power of that, that triad between you, God, and partner is powerful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you break this relationship with God through doing something stupid. You break it with yourself. You break it with your partner, because we get self-serving, selfish, short-lived satisfaction versus long-term fulfillment.
Yeah, that was a big lesson for me in my relationship. When I lost everything, I was like, wow, this isn't just impacting me anymore. Yeah. I got a girl at home, got pets, got a house to take care of. This is impacting a lot more people, her family too.
But everybody's got to go through that journey.
Yeah. Has that happened to you when you lost it all?
Yeah.
Was it during the divorce?
Yeah.
Damn.
And I had to take responsibility for shit that I did. You know what I mean? I can't blame her and be like, I don't want this. I'm like, I think two great people can always make it work.
Yeah.
Despite, you're going to go through hardship. You're going to go through, I don't like you for this next 6 months. It's like, but you're committed. And it's like, that's the power of having a marriage. That's the power of having commitment. And it's like, I think too many people are afraid to commit. They're afraid to when this going gets tough, they're just like, F this, I'm out. They walk out too easy. It's like, I'm resilient. Come from door to door. You know what I mean? Like I can't get much more resilient than that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, and I think that was the hardest part about walking out of that marriage is I was like, I give it 7 years of 7 counselors and really tried at it. And it was freeing to kind of be like, look, it's okay to fail sometimes, but what lesson, but I was resilient trying to freaking make it work.
So those counselors ended up helping in the long run then.
Yeah. Like, I run a mastermind with a bunch of business owners now.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I've studied a million freaking marriage books trying to fix my shit. So at least I can regurgitate. I'm not saying I'm the guru at this shit, but like, I sure know a lot of good tools and, I'm like the lessons even learned in those counseling sessions. I'm like, this is great.
Well, a lot of guys in our space, in the coaching space, struggle with relationships. It's crazy.
Coaching, entrepreneurs. Like, I mean, I'm friends with Sean Whalen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I watch, he separated.
Divorced, right?
Yeah, they like got divorced and they got back together and then they just barely got divorced again. And you know what I mean? And I was like, and then he had a relationship podcast and I'm like, that's tough. He's in the limelight. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they had a great thing going, but I don't know his demons and her demons, and it's her third marriage. And is it her fault? Is it his fault? Was he doing something stupid? Was she doing something? Like, it's not in my business, but like entrepreneurship's tough. I've been through a hard effing year.
Yeah.
And, financially, I made 1/100th of the amount of money last year than I did on a normal year.
Damn.
And I'm like,
is that because solar crashed?
Yeah, solar was 60% of our business of like coaching.
Yeah. And
solar had a huge, huge decline. So we're losing most clients there. Luckily we had other industries, but I'm like, man, this is tough. And, you look at the macroeconomic of that and it's like, that's not in my control as much, but it hurts. So I'm scrambling with overhead and I don't want to fire everybody. And I don't want to like, and I'm over here like, but like, how do I double down? I'm a door-to-door guy. Like, I'm like, I'll put it on my back and sell more, I'll knock more doors. I'll have to work my ass out of this. You know what I'm saying? But that hurts where else? Your relationship. That hurts your physical. That hurts. And that's why I woke up this year and I was just like, money's not everything. I can't let like some of these key things. And so I'm kind of on that out of this. And I'm just like, dude, I gotta figure this shit out.
I'm still figuring it out too, man. That balance is tough. Some people don't believe in balance at all.
No, it's having clear expectations and awareness of where you are in the balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I told her this morning, I said, D, like, because I've been in Orlando the last 3 days here, and she's just like, I don't feel taken care of or blah, 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 right? And I'm just like, I didn't call you as much as I could because I was like conversation after conversation. I keynoted yesterday and I had like a line of people for like 5 hours after jamming with me. And I was like, I couldn't answer your text. I couldn't. Like, I was just where my feet were. And when I get home tonight, my feet are with you. Does that make sense? And I'm like, can I have some grace for that? Because I can't have 1 foot over there and 1 foot over there and 1 foot over there. Like, can I just be where my feet are?
You got to be present, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have the same battles, and it's tough to explain sometimes.
Most people can't relate.
Yeah. Well, our lifestyle isn't like predictable.
No.
So we'll get invited to a last minute dinner or something, an event, and it just happens on the fly.
And you have to be able to flow and not have this, I don't know, friction of like, well, you said, it's just like, look, I'm gonna hope you trust me as I flow through this entrepreneurial journey. And I want you to know you're my like number one. That's it.
Yeah. I think just that conversation is important, because I used to not open up about that at all. So she didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
You know, but now she knows, like, if I'm doing something, it's really important.
Yeah.
So that's definitely key. But yeah, the first few years were rough, man. It's tough being an entrepreneur and dating.
It's so hard.
So hard. A lot of my...
You almost just like, F it. Like, it's easier to be single.
Yeah. But then being single is like mentally kind of not...
We're not built for that.
Yeah.
We're not built.
No.
I built this.
I need her, man. She helps out so much.
Yeah.
Did that divorce impact any family relationships? Because the Mormon culture is really strict on that, right?
That was my biggest fear, right? Like, it's like, how do I tell my parents? Like, you know, how do I tell her parents?
Right.
And I remember I came off this hike one day and I just walked into... I was like, I had to go to her dad. Like, it was like a 2-week thing. I on a Zoom call with my counselor, I was like, we're going to get divorced. And I didn't say anything for like 2 weeks to her family. And I was like, I owe it to her dad. Super respect the dude. Still talk to him all the time. I texted him yesterday.
Damn.
So like, super well renowned orthopedic surgeon, business owner, like kills it. And I was just like, I've spent 9 years in that family. I can't just break that, like, and disgrace that. He's a grandpa to my kids, you know what I mean? And so I went into his office. He works in a hospital, and I was like, I need you to see you like right now. So I like run in there, sit down with him eye to eye, and I said, look. And at the end of that, he's like, I really appreciate this conversation. All the respect. I don't blame you. I get it. And like, it was cool to just see that relationship. And I go to my parents and I'm like, look, this is where I'm at. And they're just like, we thought this happened way sooner. And I was like, geez, I was like, really? You said that? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, we're surprised you lasted this long.
Damn.
Because I have nobody else in my family that's divorced. They've been married for 50 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's how it is.
Back then, that's how it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm the only one in my family that's been divorced, right? And I'm like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah, dude, we were shocked. Like, we knew that you guys were never a really good duo. Like, it'd be hard to be married to you too. Let's just be real, Sam. Like, you know what I mean? And like, they're like, what do we need to support you? And then I went through kind of my own faith journey, and that was its own thing, you know? And I'm like, hey, I don't know if I'm like really believe in the church or this or that. And that was a hard moment. And, you know, and then I like go to Peru and do ayahuasca, and I go, you know, on my own little thing, right? And I'm like, how do I tell my parents I'm doing like psychedelics or something? You know what I mean? And they're just like, oh, maybe we should try that. I'm like, really? Like, you know, I just like opened up. And what I found is like, my parents have the wherewithal, gratefully, to be like, we love you no matter what. And
that's cool. Because sometimes religion divides that.
Yeah, they're like, we're disowning you. We're, you know, and I'm like, cool, I can have these conversations. So I call up my brother, and he's like, yeah, I've been in that same thing for 5 years. I'm like, really? Like, I would have never thought, you know what I mean? And then I go, and I'm just like, oh, I can have these more deeper conversations of just raw authenticity. And all of a sudden, my relationships actually got way stronger and deeper with my parents and my siblings than the 5 years leading up to my divorce.
Damn.
And I was like, they're like, we got Sam back. And I was like, oh, well, this is the exact opposite effect that I was thinking was going to happen. And
That's
so if
cool.
you're listening, like, I think that there's this element of like this honesty that is on the other side. People are asking for that vulnerability. And I think especially as men, or especially as business owners, or especially as, you know, influencers or coaches, like whatever, you have this like need to maintain this image, and it's actually holding you back from a deeper connection. And anyway, so then it was like practice vulnerability. And anyway, that's like my hardest thing. So
That's cool, man. Yeah, I think social media kind of want to make you put on a show.
yeah,
So it's like a highlight reel, and it's kind of dangerous sometimes.
100%.
You know, people only post the good things happening themselves.
I think it's deadly in that regard.
Yeah. But I think with podcasts, it's getting more people to open up, which is cool. So you're starting to see more people be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're starting to see grown men crying on podcasts. Like that was not a thing 10 years ago.
No,
You know, I wouldn't want to cry on a podcast 10 years ago.
no,
Now it's happened.
it's a
Crazy.
thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, man. I want to hear about this ayahuasca journey.
Yeah. So after I was like, hey, blank slate. And for some reason, you know, when I got divorced, I was like, okay, if I'm going to go blank slate, I'm blank slating. Like anything goes, right?
Mm.
And I was like, well, my cousin had like kind of gone the whole psychedelic route. And I was like, he's like, Sam, and I'd been kind of curious. He's like, let's go on a hike. And so we do something. And it was like the strongest testimony builder of Jesus Christ for me in my life. And I was like, oh. And I was like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle after you've like gone there.
Mm.
And so my like concept of religion and how I've been raised, and like I'm talking in like 5 hours with just everything flipped on its head.
Holy
And I
crap.
was just like, oh, how do I unsee any of this? You know what I mean? It was just like, it's like I can't go back. Like,
Yeah.
and so then for a while it like had called. So like probably a year and a half later, I facilitated. I do these bucket list trips. So if you ever want to come on, our next one's in New Zealand on a cruise.
I love New Zealand, dude.
We do these like epic trips every year. It's been fun. Just high vibe people doing epic shit.
That's cool.
And I was like, maybe I'll do one of my bucket list trips, because I was like feeling this calling to do Peru and ayahuasca, and so I facilitated like 20 people. We went down to like where the Shipibo tribe is in the Amazon, you know, like 2-hour boat ride up the Amazon after you get into the deep jungle, right?
Damn, you did the real deal.
The real deal.
People get shamans in the US.
Bro,
Not the same.
never. Please do not do that. Like I'm telling you, after doing the real deal and watching how many effing people do it in a basement with like some quasi like, yeah. I had a buddy do it, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, I just did this. And I was like, you didn't do it. Like you, like even in the first,
Doesn't count.
I was like, the first 2 days, it didn't even like hit. Like I was like, what the heck is this? I'm like, this is nothing. Like it wasn't until day 3 that it learns you, and it like, you start to come to this medicine. And then at day 4, I was like, oh, I can control the medicine. Like it was like a whole thing.
Wow.
And I'm like, somebody goes and sits in the basement, it doesn't do the full like experience of like what it's meant to be, only got a fraction of its like sacredness. And I watched today that so many people, they become, it's a medicine. So it's like what happens is they mistake medicine, the teacher, as food. Does that make sense?
Medicine as food.
Meaning they go to it as it's needing their nutrients in their food. It's a medicine. You're not drinking cough syrup every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they go to these coaches and gurus and psychedelic or whatever thing, and they are dependent thinking it's food.
Right. I've seen people do it hundreds of times.
Yeah. It's like, how many,
fuck.
like what, like, no, you should integrate. And this is like might be a one-time thing forever. That's it.
For some people, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, but they kind of go back and back and back. And I'm like, you're missing it. You think there's no free neurological lunch. You think about that. Like and I watch, and so when I talk about this, it's kind of like, don't throw your pearls amongst the swine. It's really sacred.
Yeah.
And I think it's lost its sacredness in today's world of like, oh, I heard that this guy on a podcast did ayahuasca. And I'm like, bro, this isn't like going down to the Quickie Mart and getting like a snack. Like, this is a sacred medicine.
Gotta call you too.
Yeah. Like, so it was a beautiful experience.
That's cool.
Life changing.
So it really shaped up your view on everything you thought your whole life though?
Yeah. So the first time I did, well, it was LSD, and then ayahuasca was like, I took D, we were dating for like 4 months, and she was supposed to go get a boob job in Miami.
Yeah.
And for some reason she had this astrology reading that was like 30 pages. And it was like, on this date, you're going to have a life-changing thing that you need to have for this week. And it was the exact week I'm going to ayahuasca.
Whoa.
And I was like, it literally said like word for word, like the dates, there's like, you need like, and I was like, she's like, I don't know, but God says I need to go. My astrology reading says I need to go. And I'm like, I guess you need to go. And she's like, cancels this and goes.
And at the time you didn't believe in astrology, right?
Yeah. Like it was like, that is so wild.
Yeah.
And so then she goes, and I have this like, you need to marry D. And I was so anti-marriage at that point.
Right.
Because I was like,
divorced.
yeah, like I was like, marriage is such a construct that man made and
Right.
it's just a bullshit. And God's just like, her mother ayahuasca, she's like, stop being a bitch, commit. This is the woman. And I'm over here like, I can't unsee this shit. So if you look at my wife's wedding ring, it's actually the band is the ayahuasca vine
Wow.
and the diamonds. I customized this like sick ring.
Dope.
It was like, I don't know, probably 2 months later, I had it engaged and I was like, I'm sending it.
Oh, so you got engaged in 6 months?
No, yeah, like within 6 months. Like, yeah, bro, I did it again. But it was like, I was so anti that. Like, I was like, no way. Yeah, like within 6 months, I'm like, I'm engaged again. You know what I mean?
I waited 6 years.
It was wild, dude. And I'm like so anti. And now I was just like, I guess when you know, when it calls, it calls. And I'm,
Ayahuasca is that powerful.
yeah, it was just mind boggling. Like, I was like,
Did you see aliens?
no, I didn't see aliens.
Okay.
But
People do.
I had an
Astral projection.
astral orgasm.
Whoa.
Yeah, bro.
I heard that's the best in the world.
Yeah, dude, it was wild. Like that's a whole nother experience in itself.
Yeah. I heard that's the best form of orgasm
Yeah, like it was
in the universe.
it was like you're banging the universe.
So were you making love with your
Universe.
in
No,
the astral form?
no, with kind of her and universe.
Wow.
Like imagine like Heavenly Mother would be the easiest way to explain it.
Damn, that is crazy.
Yeah. It's like I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
that.
No, it's full body though, right?
Yeah. You're just like in a whole nother
Dude, that's
context.
awesome. That's on my bucket list actually.
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't even know you could ejaculate that much fluid, essentially.
Dude.
Like anyway, we won't go down that road, but like
I just had Lily Phillips on, so
Yeah.
you can't get much credit.
okay,
back
cool.
her.
Okay. Well, this took a turn from sales to anyway. If you're listening, I love you.
I love that, man. She got married super quick.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you plan on having kids with her too?
No kids. I got snipped. I was like, well,
Oh, you got snipped?
yeah, I have 3, she has 1. So I'm like, we have 4.
Damn. My
Yeah.
dad got snipped. He didn't tell my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he already had 2 kids before, and then he had me, and he was done after 3, I think.
Yeah, I was just like, look. And what's sad, it's so weird. Okay, so let's take ayahuasca. So D never got a boob job and probably won't ever. Very like everything needs to be natural, everything needs to be sacred. Like
Right.
she was like food. I mean, you take down to the dieta, she's lived this like very holistic like life since then. And then also like even since getting snipped, it was almost like God's like, dude, you're like impeding this whole like natural element that you might want a kid. You know what I mean? And like you're just so sensitive to even little things like that, which is so interesting. Like,
Wow.
so like she's been like very like, not that she wants a kid, but she almost feels like we're getting in the way of God's ability, if he needed to, send us a kid. Like it's
Damn.
wild.
Well, I like that. I'm not a fan of most cosmetic surgeries, to be honest, especially on women who
Yeah.
feel pressured to get them.
Bro, do you know how many lip jobs? It's like mind boggling how many people have lip jobs and boob jobs and face jobs.
Yeah,
and
especially in Miami. I'm like,
dude, it's insane. I was at the airport in freaking Florida and I'm over here like, that butt is 3 times too big. Like, it's like so foreign. It's like, why are we putting foreign shit in our bodies? And like, so my wife's like naturally unbelievably beautiful. But it's like, to me, what makes a woman so beautiful is that natural, like they have this insecurity. It goes back to men with money and cars and all that other shit.
Yeah.
They're going like lip filler and eye filler and all the other things they do whatever their face. And
yeah, we mask it through material purchases, and then women do the cosmetic purchases. Yeah.
Vegas here is bad too. You know, you walk around and just like, damn.
Yeah, I've seen people get eaten up out here, man.
Yeah.
They can't control their urges, whether it's prostitutes, whether it's gambling, whether it's just going out to the clubs. Yeah, Vegas can be dangerous with the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
But I love it here personally.
Yeah, it's a great place. Like I didn't even realize you had like hot springs and dope hikes and
Yeah.
mountain biking. And all.
Yeah, we got Red Rock.
Yeah, it's dope.
We're pretty close to Cali, pretty close. I just drove to Sedona last week.
Yeah.
Beautiful out there.
No, I just went on a run with my CRO. He lives here.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I was just right before this. And he loves it.
You training for a marathon or something?
Kind of. I'm doing 75 hard. I'm 49 days in.
Nice.
And then I'm doing trail with Colin O'Brady and Jesse Itzler.
The trail.
So I did 29.029 last year. That's like where you hike. It's Everesting. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, they go up the mountain, right?
Yeah, you go up the mountain like a bunch of times till you hike 29,000 feet, which is actually way harder than you think. That's how high an airplane flies.
Damn.
I'm just hiking straight to where an airplane flies.
That's crazy.
But like the trail is 3 marathons in 3 days with like a ton of vertical in the mountains. So it's like back-to-back marathons, and that's in
Holy
July.
crap. And
Yeah.
you're running up the whole time?
Yeah.
Dude, is it harder on the way up or the way down?
For me, up. Like, everybody always complains about the down, and I'm like, you're so much more energy exertion up.
Yeah. Sometimes down is a lot of energy too.
Yeah, like that. Like, I don't know why. Maybe my brain, because some people hate the down. But like my first marathon was during COVID.
Yeah.
And freaking, they shut it down, and I was like, "F that!" Like, they canceled my marathon. I've been training for this shit. And so I was like, "I'm gonna go to the top of the mountain and run." It was 11 miles downhill, and then the rest was just flat.
Jeez.
So I was like, "I'm just gonna run down the canyon." I'm in Utah, right? So, and I loved the first 11 miles, it's all gravity,
Yeah.
and some people, like my buddy, he hurt his knee after like a mile, like it was pounding on his knees.
Oh.
And he like limped the other freaking 25 miles. And I was like, bro, I don't know why you finished. Cause he was like one leg limping
Oh my
for
God. Are you
25
serious?
miles, dude. And he had like repercussions for 5 years. And I was like, yeah, that was probably dumb. You should have just like walked out. But there was like 4 of us that ran it. It was like us 4, we're going to still effing do it. And so we just made our own course and ran 26 miles.
Damn.
It was fun.
That was ego. We're
Yeah,
taking it
ego.
to the beginning right now.
Ego.
Yeah, ego's dangerous, man. Well, dude, it's been awesome. I'm going to finish your book. I'm about an hour into the audiobook.
Oh.
Where can people find the book and keep up with you?
Yeah, Amazon, Eat What You Kill, Barnes & Noble, Becoming a Sales Carnivore. So like, obviously the premise of me, we didn't talk sales a ton, is just for context, is teaching people how to be more hunters and carnivores versus herbivores or lead babies. And in today's younger generation, and just because of social media, or digital social, it's like they become so dependent on, as long as a lead comes in, it'll make revenue.
Mm.
But it's like, I'm like, how do you teach a culture of lead or no lead? You got carnivores, you know what I mean? Like they go hunt, they go DM, they'll go knock, they'll go cold call, and if like people can learn that skill, and I teach it in the book, their culture of their sales organization or their business like is so much less dependent on, as long as algorithm doesn't get changed, I'm good, or my ad spend or whatever, right? Like, and I'm like, dude, you'll thrive in life learning that mindset and skill set of how to cold outreach to customers. And that's what the book talks about. So anybody listening that wants a good book for their team, or, book club, if you're in sales, it has been, we hit bestseller, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, like all these really cool things have been happening since we launched about a month ago.
I love it.
It's been
Yeah, I can't wait to finish it. I love cold DMing. So I've cold DM'd every day for 10 years straight.
It's just such a good practice.
Yeah.
It's like, I will outreach and think of what's come from it from you.
The compound effect of it over a 10-year period is nuts.
Nuts.
And that's why the podcast is where it's at, honestly. Cold DM.
I like exactly what I just said to you even before is like, I look at the people that spoke, Mike Posner, to, a lot of these speakers I get at door-to-door con, it's like, I just DM'd them.
Yeah.
And they responded back.
100%. That's how I got Mike on the pod.
Yeah. Like they just become, and then they become a friend. And then I was like, Mike, do you know John Billion? Because he's on my hit list of like people I want to meet.
Right.
Yeah, let me put you on a group text. Just how you're going to put me on a group text with Charlie Kirk's team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, what you don't realize is that outreach and that it creates more business as much as you're inbound. But now you're inbound, you got the lead, but are you maximizing referrals off that? You're maximizing their proximity, like, you know what I mean? But everybody's complaining about, I don't have enough leads. And I'm like, stop being such an herbivore, bro. There's millions out there. Cold DM them.
I used to cold DM 100 a day. Now I'm probably doing like 10 to 25 because it's just podcast guests now. But yeah, cold DM. Cold email is good too.
Yeah. It's just like, but we're afraid to knock. It's like, duh.
No, you shouldn't be scared of rejection, especially cold DM. It's all a numbers game.
Yeah, and then they don't message you back, or they message you back F you. Okay.
That's the worst thing that can happen, which is rare, by the way. It's like 1 out of 1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. So cold DM, guys.
That's huge.
Yep.
Powerful.
Thanks for coming on, Sam. That was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, check them out, guys. See you next time.
See you guys.